Today we are working on section 5.2, which is to use linear equations in slope-intercept form. This is different than the book presents, so please make sure you are taking notes. It is much easier this way than what the book presents. Many students often miss a step in what the book presents, so this is much easier. Please take notes. Step 1, you need to identify your slope, which we all know is m, and you are going to calculate m from 2 points on the line if you are not given the slope. We are also going to substitute the slope and an xy pair into point slope form, just like we did for section 5.3 with point slope form. And finally, we're going to take that point slope form and solve that equation for y. So we are putting it into slope-intercept form in the end. All of the equations in this section will start out in point slope and get transformed into slope-intercept. Notice our visual here. We have point slope up at the top of our triangle. Point slope is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Notice the 2 arrows going left and right. One of them will go to slope-intercept, which is y equals mx plus b, meaning we can start out in point slope form and go into slope-intercept, or we can start out in point slope and we'll go to something else we'll talk about in section 5.4. Please notice that the arrows do not go back up, they only come down. So you can start in point slope and go into slope-intercept, but you cannot take slope-intercept and go back up to point slope. Let's write an equation given a slope and a point. You have the point -1, 2 and a slope of -4. Start out putting it into y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. That is point slope form. So we will have y minus 2 equals -4 times the quantity x plus 1. At this time, you need to distribute your -4 to the right-hand side so that you have y minus 2 equals -4x minus 4. And then get your equation so that it is just y equals. Get all your constants together. So we'll have y equals -4x minus 2. This equation is in slope-intercept form, and we started out with it in point slope form, transformed it very easily into slope-intercept. Let's try another equation, the point 6, 3 and a slope of -2. So once again, start out in point slope form. We'll have y minus 3 equals -2 times the quantity x minus 6. Use your distributive property on the right-hand side so that you have y minus 3 equals -2x plus 12. And then get your constants together on the right-hand side so that you have y equals -2x plus 15. This equation, y equals -2x plus 15, is in slope-intercept form. When you are given 2 points, you need to first find the slope. So let's use our change in y over our change in x. We have 5 minus a -1 over -2 minus 2. That gives us 6 over a -4, which is equal to a -3 over 2. So our slope is a -3 over 2. Now we will write the equation in point slope form using that slope and either one of the 2 points that are given to us. I'm going to use the first point. Y minus 5 equals -3/2 times the quantity x plus 2. Distribute on the right-hand side as we've done before, and you'll see that we have y minus 5 equals -3/2 x minus 3. Now get your constants together so that you have y all by itself, and you'll have y equals -3/2 x plus 2. This equation is in slope-intercept form. Let's do one more where we are given 2 points. You have to find the slope first. If you want, go ahead and pause for a moment so that you find the slope and then turn it back on in order to see how we're doing. We have the slope being 0 minus a -4 over 3 minus 2, which gives us a slope of 4. Substitute these into point slope form with either one of the 2 points. I'm going to use the first point, I think you will find that it's the easier one to use. We have y minus 0 equals 4 times the quantity, x minus 3. When we do our distributive property on the right-hand side, we're already in slope-intercept form. How wonderful. That one didn't take much work in order to get it into slope-intercept. Let's write an equation for the linear function when we're given values using function notation. We have f of negative 2 equals 10 and f of 4 equals negative 2. Please note that in xy format, these are negative 2, 10 and 4, negative 2. If you did not know that the number inside the parentheses is x, please make sure you note that in your notes for yourself, and the other number is y. You still have to find the slope, so let's now calculate the slope. 10 minus a negative 2 over negative 2 minus 4, which gives us 12 over negative 6, which is equal to a negative 2. Now you may use either one of the two xy pairs in point slope form. I believe I used the first one. So we have y minus 10 equals negative 2 times the quantity, x plus 2. Use your distributive property on the right-hand side. Gives us y minus 10 equals negative 2x minus 4, and therefore y equals negative 2x plus 6. This is the same as we've done for each of the other problems. The only thing we're going to change now is the notation. Instead of a y, we're going to write f of x equals negative 2 plus 6, so that when you see your xy pairs in function notation, you should write your equation using function notation. Use that as your rule of thumb, please. Time for a story problem. Carnival charges $2.50 per ride after an entrance fee. You paid a total of $22.50 after 6 rides. Write an equation that gives the total cost as a function of the number of rides, and then find the total cost for 15 rides. Well, as we start this one, we see that we need to find the total cost as a function of the number of rides. What that tells us is that y is equal to the total cost and number of rides is our x. Usually, money is your y, so that leaves x to be our rides. We usually have y as a function of x, so it also tells us the total cost is y. One of the things that we need is slope, and we're given slope by that $2.50 per ride. Remember, that's $2.50 over the number of rides, and that's the change in y over the change in x, so that is our slope. They also give us a point that we can use. That point is $22.50 after 6 rides. That's the point 6, comma, 22.5. 6 rides for $22.50. So we have slope, we have an xy pair. Let's write the line in point slope form. We will have y minus 22.5 equals 2.5 times the quantity, x minus 6. Use your distributive property on the right-hand side, and we'll have y minus 22.5 equals 2.5x minus 15. And then let's get our constants together so that we are just in y equals 2.5x plus 7.5. We have found the equation where the total cost is a function of the number of rides. Also, that 7.5 that's at the end, that's the entrance fee, because please notice it was 2.5 for every ride after an entrance fee. That's $7.50 is our entrance fee. They didn't ask us for it, but I thought I'd let you know what it was in reference to. The other question that they want is find the total cost for 15 rides. That means that you're going to put 15 in for x. So we'll have 2.5 times 15 plus 7.5. That gives us 37.5 plus the 7.5 for a total cost of $45. The story problem had 2 questions. There should be 2 answers here. On a test, I would expect both of these answers. One more story problem. We have a BMX racetrack charging a membership fee and an entry fee per race. One racer paid a total of $76 after 3 races. Another racer paid a total of $124 after 7 races. They want to know how much does the track membership cost, what's the entry fee per race, and write an equation that gives the total cost as a function of the number of races entered. Let's begin with writing the equation. We want to have the total cost as a function of the number of races entered. Total cost is going to be our y, and x is going to be the number of races that are entered. Our slope, they don't give it to us directly, but they do give us two pieces of information. One of them is 3 races for $76, and the other one is 7 races for $124. So in their own way, they've given us 2 points. Now we can find the slope. So remember, change in y over the change in x. We'll have 124 minus 76 over 7 minus 3, which is equal to $12 per race. We already have an answer for one of them, the entry fee per race, and it's also our slope. So now let's use that slope and one of the points to write in point-slope form. We'll use the first point, y minus 76 equals 12 times the quantity, x minus 3. Use your distributive property on the right, and you'll have y minus 76 equals 12x minus 36, and then get y all by itself. So we'll have y equals 12x plus 40. That is the equation, the third thing that we were looking for, the equation that gives the total cost as a function of the number of races entered. We also have the entry fee per race, the $12. And the last thing is the track membership cost. That's the $40 that's being added on in the equation. We may not have found them in the order that was asked. That's okay. We did find all 3 pieces in the end. So we put 3 boxes around all the answers. That's the end of writing in point slope or in slope intercept form. Please make sure you use point slope to get started. Thank you.